Grenada's opposition leader slams Prime Minister Dickon on his spending and traveling spree. Since he has been elected, the opposition leader is letting Grenadians know that he has racked up a $6 million travel bill. Ladies and gentlemen, listen the lady and join us in the comment section. Tell us your thoughts there. And as usual, like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one.
Brothers and sisters, we are all aware of the published analysis of the Prime Minister's performance since then. It shows us that he has taken 51 overseas trips since he was elected as Prime Minister. Nothing to show for those trips. Brothers and sisters, it tells us that the Prime Minister would have spent over 480 days overseas. Brothers and sisters, about 1/3 of the time that he has been elected as Prime Minister of this country. But what is worse, brothers and sisters, this kind of reckless behavior would have cost the country over $6 million since he has been elected as Prime Minister.
Honorable Dickon seemed to be in some more political hot water. So yesterday we had the conversation about the Prime Minister as it pertains to the request from the American government to install a military radar system at the Maurice Bishop Airport. So the Prime Minister took it to Parliament for a debate, and what I realized that on the evening of the debate that the opposition was missing. So I thought, as many people thought, that the opposition did not show up because of the debate about the military radar system, and she did not want to be a part of that debate, of debating that in Parliament. But yesterday evening, the opposition leader, Emmalin Pierre, kept a campaign-style rally, and at that rally, she announced why they did not show up for the Parliament meeting, and a lot of things she was talking about. But the thing that stuck out to me the most was about the Prime Minister's travel. The Prime Minister being away 51 times in the past 3 years. And this was something that we spoke about last week, and the Prime Minister came and cleared it up. The Prime Minister said that, look, whenever he travel overseas, the country that hosts, they are the ones that pay for his travel overseas. And the only time it is paid by the taxpayer of Grenada, it is when they travel for like CARICOM meeting or UN meeting. So I was surprised to see the opposition leader coming out now and say, look, the Prime Minister has traveled 51 times. He spent out of the country in that 3-year time span over 400 days and a bill of $6 million. So that was very surprising to me. So I don't know, does the Prime Minister need to come out and bring some receipts that the taxpayers, they weren't the one footing this $6 million bill for the 51 times he traveled in the past 3.5 years. So this is what the opposition leader had to say, among a lot of other stuff that they are not satisfied about, and that was the reason why they did not show up to the parliamentary hearing on the other day. So this is what the opposition leader had to say.
Brothers and sisters, I say to you tonight, trust the judgment of your team. We decided not to participate in the last sitting of Parliament on the grounds of principle. And we believe that there are times you must stand for something or else you fall for anything. And we refuse to fall for anything in the House of Parliament, which is supposed to be at a level where every Grenadian can respect this institution. We are not settling for less than what is supposed to be. So, brothers and sisters, we decided not to attend Because for the last 3 years, we have been observing a pattern of disrespect, a pattern of disregard, a pattern where the democracy that we are supposed to uphold in the parliament of this country is disregarded, and we are not going to be a part of this. That is why we had to make a statement, because we have been speaking for the last 3 years. We have been begging like dogs to be recognized equally as members of parliament duly elected by the people of this country. Brothers and sisters, the decisions, the actions that are taken sometimes is a pure indication that there are some people who have not yet accepted that we didn't just land in the parliament, we were elected by the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. In other words, there are people who chose us above others, and we proudly represent them. Brothers and sisters, we have decided to speak out on this issue, and it is our right to decide where we want to speak about it, because we know that we will not be given an opportunity in the parliament, because that is where we are shut up. That is where we are denied an opportunity to express ourselves. It is either shut up or sit down. But I say to you, this is the people's parliament, where we are able to communicate with the people without the restrictions that are sometimes unlawfully applied. Brothers and sisters, we will not be controlled against the standing orders and against the constitution of this country, because we know our rights and we are going to stand for our rights as we represent you. So we stand for fairness. We stand for transparency. And I say to them, we stand for respect. Brothers and sisters, I had the opportunity to look at a few clips from the sitting of the last parliament. And I say to you, if I went to that sitting, I would have walked out. Because some of the things that happened on Tuesday is a clear indication of the very reason we did not attend, and maybe even worse. So when I tell you that members of the House can stay outside of the chamber and decide what happens inside the chamber, when I tell you that the Prime Minister can sit in his office and communicate with the Speaker and decide who speaks after, I say to you, don't take this lightly. We are in a serious situation. Brothers and sisters, only on Tuesday, I don't know if you observed what happened in the House of Parliament. You would recall 1 week before the Parliament met, and it was decided that on Tuesday last, we were going to have a continuation of the sitting of Parliament. Meaning that the last item that we addressed, that the Speaker was going to move to the next item and continue the meeting. This is what happened. The Speaker announced item number 14, which was supposed to be bills. And he only did that because 1 to 13 would have already been dealt with at that point. As if to think that everyone is stupid, the Prime Minister stands up and says to the Speaker, who's supposed to be I'll say what you just said. Who's supposed to be in charge of the House? The Prime Minister stands up and says to the Speaker that you would have missed number 9, number 10, number 11, number 12 come down the road. And he says to the Speaker, we can check the minutes just to verify. When the Speaker said to him, do you recall that we already dealt with ministerial statements previously? Brothers and sisters, I was there. Members of the team were there. And I'm sure many of you listened. That ministerial statements were called twice. And no one on the government side stood up. But somehow the Prime Minister appears to be the one controlling the agenda in the Parliament. And so he gets the Speaker to decide to amend the order paper and to go back to give him an opportunity to address the issue that he has not addressed from since August of this year. Brothers and sisters, I say to you tonight, we are not going to accept this. It is unacceptable. It is disrespectful. And I say to you, it's a contradiction of the very democracy that we stand for in this country. So I want to deal with, very quickly, a few of the comments made by the Prime Minister during his presentation. Brothers and sisters, could you imagine that the Prime Minister, in his own word, referred to the wanton disregard and neglect for the job that we were elected to do? I was like, really? Is this man for real? Because I say to you tonight, if there's anybody that has neglected their job since July 2022, it would be the Prime Minister of this country. Brothers and sisters, we are all aware of the published analysis of the Prime Minister's performance since then. It shows us that he has taken 51 overseas trips since he was elected as Prime Minister. Nothing to show for those trips. Brothers and sisters, it tells us that the Prime Minister would have spent over 480 days overseas. Brothers and sisters, about 1/3 of the time that he has been elected as Prime Minister of this country. But what is worse, brothers and sisters, this kind of reckless behavior would have cost the country over $6 million since he has been elected as Prime Minister. And I say to you, $6 million would have done so much for the people of St. John's, for the people of Grand Roy, those who have housing needs, those with medical needs, children who have to go to school. $6 million would have made a significant dent, not just in St. John's, but I say in the entire western corridor of this country. But people don't care. They don't care one bit about these people who they represent. Brothers and sisters, talking about kettle telling pot bottom black. Well, that is a perfect example, brothers and sisters. We not doing our jobs. I say tonight, had it not been for this team doing their job today we would have had a law that would have reduced the age for civil legal responsibility in this country as low as 12 years old. It is because we are doing our job. This bill cannot even come back to the Parliament yet. And tonight we say it will never come back in its current form. Brothers and sisters, talking about who not doing their job, the analysis shows that the worst performing ministries in this country are headed by the Prime Minister of this country. What a shame, because you are supposed to be leading by example.